Right. So we kind of talked about this with quantum computing, right?
Mhm.
That, quantum computing is being used in the electric vehicle industry to do two things. One, create better simulations of battery chemistry so that we can create better batteries. Okay, we need 22% lithium, 15.4% iron, whatever it may be, right? Like we can now adjust those and run simulations and adjust the mixes so that we create the optimal mix of elements to create the best battery possible. So that's one way quantum computing is helping, and AI can help in the same way, right? AI can run those simulations much more quickly than a human can with human input. So you have an AI model that can run all these simulations and produce an output to create a better battery. So that's one way that it's working. The other way that quantum computing is helping, which AI can help as well, is in simulating running the same simulations, but for a different reason, not for the reason of creating a better battery, but rather for the reason of, okay, can we manufacture lithium without mining the earth? Like, is there a way that we can take really common elements and from those common elements make lithium? In which case, we would create an abundance of lithium, right? And this goes back to my thing of inflation, why inflation should never be a problem in the world of competent AI. Let's say that does happen, right? So, right now, one of the reasons that electric vehicles have become a little bit more expensive is because the cost of lithium has become a lot more expensive. And some people believe that the cost decline curve of electric vehicles will start to flatten out because there is a shortage of lithium and there's a limited supply of lithium in the world. And therefore, the lithium prices, demand goes up and supply remains limited. Lithium prices will go higher. That'll make it exponentially more difficult for electric vehicle car prices to move lower over time. And I get that argument. But here, let's insert the world of AI. If AI is truly able to come in here and figure out a way to make lithium or manufacture a lithium replacement from, I don't know, copper or from something super abundant like copper, then boom, the supply of lithium in the world goes from super limited, super geographically concentrated to abundant to almost infinite. And that's the power of AI in fighting inflation. Again, on all the software side of things, we went over. It can create all the content in the world, boom, 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 boom. On the hardware side of things, it can create things much more quickly. But more importantly, it can figure out ways to make things without needing things that are in short supply, whether that's lithium, whether that's, whatever it may be. It can, in theory, figure out a way to create that without needing the stuff that's in limited supply. Instead, make it from things that are in abundance, and therefore the supply of that thing becomes infinitely greater. Supply is greater, demand is the same, prices of it collapse. So this is part of the reason I think electric vehicles take over the world. This is part of the reason why I think all these kind of exponential technologies, solar, for example, are going to just grow very, very, very quickly with the introduction of AI. AI is an accelerant for exponential progress across the board. You name a hyper growth vertical, an emerging technological megatrend, you put AI into it, and it goes from 40 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour. That's the sort of situation we're talking about. And yeah, so from that perspective, I think that AI applied to electric vehicles is a complete game changer for the industry and for EV makers in general. It's Rivian leveraging AI is going to allow them to figure out how to make an electric truck for $40,000, $35,000. That's not baked into the forecast. It's going to allow Tesla to figure out how to make millions and millions and millions of cars a year. It's going to allow Lucid to figure out how do we make a 1,000-mile, 1,200-mile, 1,500-mile battery, right? So it's going to unlock some significant advancements that I'm very excited about for the electric vehicle industry, and it ultimately is going to be the nail in the coffin for gas-powered cars.
So in the scenario that you describe, you have a combination of AI and quantum computing and maybe even hardware that's could potentially manufacture a lithium replacement. Does that change it obviously will change the demand for lithium moving forward, but does that change the price of lithium?
I don't think, no, it doesn't change the demand of lithium. Lithium demand, I think, is going to remain very strong, very constant, and will grow very steadily over the next 10 years. What you just said, what it will do is it will increase the supply of lithium. So if demand remains constant and strong, and the supply of lithium goes from a shortage to a surplus, then the prices of lithium will collapse. And that will allow for the prices of electric vehicles to collapse. It will allow the prices of battery energy storage systems to collapse. It will allow for the prices of, well, solar panels don't use lithium, but the same science can be, the same process can be applied to the inputs for solar panels and allow the cost of solar panels to collapse. So I think the cost decline curves of those emerging technologies, clean energy technologies, a lot of people called the pause in 2021, 2022 the end of the cost decline curve. No, I think it's a pause before the cost decline curve really starts to fall dramatically in an accelerated fashion.
I guess where I was kind of going with that question was more along the lines of where does that line stand? Why not gold? Why not find a replacement for gold? And then does that change the value of currency?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I just don't see the economic value of. I mean, people are doing this because people are doing this with respect to lithium and with respect to electric vehicles. Because if I figure out a way to do that, to manufacture lithium or a lithium replacement without needing actual lithium, boy, oh boy, oh boy, I can make a lot of electric vehicles at a very low price, and I can sell them and make a ton of money. There's massive economic incentive to do that. There's massive economic incentive to do that with solar panels. There's massive economic incentive to do that with battery energy storage systems because the demand for them is significant. And if you can figure it out, you're going to sell a lot of them at very low prices and become, if you're the person selling it, a potential billionaire. So the economic incentives to do it are significant. I'm not sure the economic incentives with gold are that significant because gold is not, it's not an input for a lot of things anymore. Like gold was an input for semiconductors for a while, but that's not true anymore. So gold is just gold. It's not an input to any sort of really usable real world item. Whereas lithium is an input to pretty much all of these very real world usable items. So I think that's why you're seeing AI, quantum computing, all these emerging technologies be applied to lithium and not to other elements.
Does it change the companies that are involved in lithium mining then?
Yeah, I mean, so that's where my head went, right? That's exactly where my head went. It's like, okay, so the bull thesis on lithium mining is they're going to mine a bunch of lithium and they're going to sell all that lithium, and they got a moat because they're the only ones that can mine it, and that bull thesis makes a lot of sense in a world where AI doesn't come up with an alternative solution. And I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That AI will be able to come up with an alternative. And the question is just really around when. Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? Is it 50 years? Like, we don't really know. So I think the shot clock is ticking for lithium miners. I think that eventually we will come up with a replacement where we won't need lithium miners. But until that happens, we're going to need them. So, and I don't really have an outlook on the timeline for it. I know that it's a very complex problem. It's probably going to be one of the last dominoes to fall in the AI revolution, but it is a domino that's going to fall. And whether or not that's 5 years, 10 years, it's probably not 2 years. So I think you're probably looking at a 5 to 15 year timeline. And, on the shorter end, if it's on the shorter end of that, then lithium mining stocks look terrible here. If it's on the longer end of that, then lithium mining stocks look great here. So it kind of all depends on when it happens. But that is one of the reasons I struggle to get super bullish on lithium mining stocks. I hate investing in things where I know the terminal value is eventually going to be zero. And on mining stocks, lithium mining stocks, I'm pretty sure the terminal value there is eventually going to be zero because AI is going to figure out a way to create a better version of lithium without needing actual lithium. And that parlays into a bull thesis on maybe something like copper mining stocks, because whatever replacement they do come up with for lithium is probably going to involve some other metal, a very common metal. And the one I think of that's pretty much in everything, an input for everything, is copper. And there's a lot of copper out there. So if we do come up with something that's a replacement for lithium and that replacement includes copper, then demand for copper soars. So I think copper miners look a little bit better to me than lithium miners based on this long-term outlook of AI eventually figuring out a way to make lithium without needing real lithium.
Thanks for watching HGI Clips. For the full episode, head on over to our sister channel at Hypergrowth Investing by clicking the link in the description, or listen to the podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms. We make new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to check it out and subscribe to never miss any of Luke's Hypergrowth insights.